Jim, thanks for the copies. We'll go out for a couple of beers after this is over, all right? This afternoon, as soon as we're done.
You have to define a couple.
Uh,
Probably have a different standard.
Everyone that's ever been pulled over for a DUI.
I mean like a couple of pitches?
I've been a couple of different places.
For me? Oh, okay, that's fine with me.
So, you have Uber here, right?
We can, yeah,
Okay.
we can go close down. It's been quite a while since I closed the place down, but we can go close.
Make so much money from them in a week, we made like $800 from them.
The Teamsters organized the Uber drivers in Seattle. Did you see that? And the city commission there signed off on the recognition.
We're not, there's no independent contractor issue, I guess.
I don't know how they're doing, I just read it today on my way over.
I know taxi.
Barbara, I CC'd you on that slip to come here, but I always did the week thing with Barbara D.
Hang on one second. Let's just go on the record here because we wanted to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So we're back on at 12:23.
So anyway, I always had done that with Barbara D. CC'd her my sheet and did it a week in advance, but when I heard you say that, I just thought, oh, well, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Even though it was in writing, I assumed that that's what it meant, but from here on out, I'll make sure they get it for a week because that's the way I've done it in the past with Barbara D. Simone.
Well, we had a chance during the break to take a look at, what's so complicated about Article 19. It's just a few words, and it does seem very straightforward to me, but even just looking at the people at the bargaining table, there's a lot of inconsistency, Frank, not just you, but a lot of inconsistency on who puts in the notice when. So I think this article probably warrants a little bit of clarification in terms of language. And to me, the starting point is, John, is that these are 6 people that the union designates to be here bargaining, okay? So it's really your responsibility, I think, to make sure that your team is as designated, number one, and that they comply with the notice requirement.
I understand. Most employers, it's not that big of an issue. Most employers know who's going to be attending. Most employers that I deal with, okay? I'm not saying
I want to address that.
hang on. And so it's never been that big of a rub. It seems like this place is just different on so many different levels than most employers, and not necessarily in a positive way. But it is a big issue. Frank had the clear understanding from Barbara that it wasn't that big of a deal and that 48 hours would be enough. That's what his understanding was on this particular event. I don't think we've had an ongoing problem. I don't think we have.
Okay.
So, no, I'm not done. So then, on this particular case, his understanding was, is all I gotta give is a couple days notice. Ed brought it up in our caucus, you only need 24 hours notice to let the county know you're not even gonna be at work. But we respect the contract. We respect the language that it's 5 days. We got the message, we understand. The concern is today, it was Frank's concern, am I in trouble over this? And I said, well, when did you give notice? And he said, 2 days ago. And so if that's the case, there has been 2 days in which the county or supervisor could have said that, no, you're not going. That's why you put the request in, you're not going because you didn't give 5 days notice. So we're ready to move forward with this whole thing, as long as this guy's not gonna get.
Well, first of all,
Yeah, and I got a comment too.
yeah, and he didn't put the notice in 2 days ago, it was yesterday, and the supervisor denied it, and had never had a conversation with him, and the form is denied, and it went back, hasn't even reached him yet, because he only put it in yesterday. And there was a big job that supposedly he was running today, okay,
Job today.
which is why it was denied. And others put them in literally January 8th. I know some of the people put it in, we finished the last session, they put in the leave notice. Boom, done. 4 weeks ago almost. So, and here's my concern. 4 weeks or 6 weeks ago, I got a call from utilities saying, this is crazy that these people are going out with 1 day's notice to go to hearings to represent people and whatever. And I stuck up for you guys and I said, look, that's on us, because if it's a hearing or if it's a grievance or if it's a disciplinary thing, we're not giving them very much notice. I said, so you have to let them go, you have to work with them, it'll be 1 day or 2 days. Bargaining sessions, they get 4 weeks notice on, 3 weeks notice on, so there's no excuse for that. And absolutely, you're getting plenty of notice. So I don't like to go to bat for you guys and say, you've got to let them go with little notice on things like those predetermination hearings or whatever, and they get slapped in the face when it comes to bargaining, which is 4 weeks in advance, and you give 1 day's notice, not 2.
And there was no job schedule because another guy is not even here today because he's off because he does the mail run. So there was no big job scheduled for today either. That's
Well,
not the truth.
We shouldn't have to even talk about it in this kind of detail, because we talked about it when we negotiated the language into the contract about what the standard would be. And, you know, got a member of your team here that could be the poster child for how to do it correctly. I mean, you know, Jim turned in his notice 2 days after the last bargaining
1 day.
session when we set the date.
Okay, well, you got
So-
a commitment that moving forward, we're going to adhere to the agreed upon language.
All right, well, you got a commitment that we're gonna rework the language a little bit.
Okay, well, we have
Well, it's
a
already,
town proposal.
he didn't
on
even
it.
say it was denied this morning. He didn't even say a word.
So, if there's a dispute about that, where is it, you said he
He-
hasn't received this denial? Because he says he hasn't been told it was
He didn't
denied.
say anything. this
Because it
morning.
goes up through the chain, yeah, the department head turned it down. It hasn't even got, he literally was yesterday, so yeah, it's been denied, but he probably hasn't even gotten it back yet, but the reality is, what do you do, turn in a form and just assume it's fine, you never have to hear anything back, I guess? I mean, that's,
I guess that's the way.
That's the way it's been in the past, even when I would do the 5-day notice that you guys want with Barbara D, the way we do it is you fill out your leave form, you forward it to your supervisor, and then you CC'd HR.
And it was done.
That was the way it was always done.
yeah, but why 1 day? Why 1 day's notice? Isn't that
Because of-
ridiculous when it's?
Because what you said during this meeting, that it didn't matter anymore.
I didn't
All right,
say that.
like I said, we don't need to spend this much
Well,
time. We'll give you some
you'll
new
have to look
language.
on it.
John, you're gonna be in the mix, you know, you're gonna need to confirm that the bargaining team is cleared, the hurdles, they need to clear to come with you.
Like you said, you know, in this
And-
particular case, we're not saying that 24 hours is acceptable, we're not saying it, just, oops, you know, made a little mistake.
Okay.
So let's just,
All right.
let's get past it. All right, I'm gonna just go through this packet that you gave out page by page. We'll go on the TA, and then just so you know, we wanna get a deal, done today, that's what we want, okay? But of course, there's some things in here that we just can't agree to, we bent over, you know, backwards in a lot of different, ideas and principles we have, but we're trying to, get a deal done, so hopefully you can work with us as well.
All right, well, take us through the whole package.
Right.
All right, and then we'll take a break and we'll
Okay.
come back and tell you what we're prepared to TA on, because some of the issues are monetary in nature and tied together, so, you know, with all due respect, we're not gonna let you cherry pick the ones you like and leave, you know, other ones for unresolved, so let's go through it.
Okay, Article 3, just cause there's a point we're willing to TA that article. Article 16, union stewards, we're willing to TA that article. Article 17, union leave account, we'd like a minor change in here. And in section, what would be section B, in the first full pay period following ratification, in each January thereafter, the county will deduct, what we want to do is say, will deduct accumulated annual leave, and then insert in 1 hour increments from each bargaining unit member who authorizes, and then carry on out as proposed by the county.
So does that mean we're
every
deducting 1
time?
hour and not 2?
No, in 1 hour increments. So if someone wants to donate 5 hours, someone wants to donate 1 hour, someone wants to donate 3 hours. It's just a one-time blast, one time per year. It's not any extra administrative issues.
How do we know what to deduct?
There's gonna be some sort of form. You're gonna have to authorize the deduction. You have that in your language.
So the form itself would come from you to your members?
Well,
Or
we've
not
never-
your members, but the bargaining unit employees?
We've never facilitated this language,
All
so
right.
it's kind of new ground.
The form would come from the county?
I don't know, Jim. Whatever you think is appropriate. I don't care if it comes from the county or comes from the union. We haven't gone down that road yet. If you wanna figure it out now, then.
All right.
Then we
So
can.
if we were to send out a notice to all the bargaining unit employees that says, you know, pursuant to the new contract, there's a leave account, please fill out the following form and return it to us by a date certain.
Right.
You know, and in that form, it would say, I hereby donate blank hours.
And then put
And they could-
parentheses in 1 hour increments, so someone can.
In
say
1 hour
2.5
increments.
hours. And so they're not bound to do 2 hours, and they're not limited to 2 hours, okay?
All right, I'm thinking out loud because I don't want to shift the administrative duty to HR that they don't want to do, but does that sound like the concept you have in mind, that it would come from the county to the employee?
Yeah, like I said, it's new ground, so yeah, I don't have a problem with that, because the county is the one that's going to be doing the deducting, so.
And you say right here too, using the same methods as other types of leave, so request for union leave shall be submitted in writing it'll be in writing and submitted using the same method as other types of leave, so I guess we can, revise the leave form.
Well, couldn't it be like 1 hour, 2 hour, or a box that said other?
Well,
And just fill it in?
requests for union leave are different than the donation part, right?
Right, the
Requests from
donation
union
form is
leave, are-
just one.
really, we would expect would only come from the stewards,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, so A, yeah, right, we're skipping all around there. So A is how you use the leave. It's a 24-hour, which does seem peculiar because it's 24 hours to use, to request the use of union leave, but it's 5 days to use union leave for bargaining, which I don't understand, but I guess that's just the way it is. And especially if you're gonna be using union leave to attend bargaining, because that's what we're gonna be getting
Well,
to.
bargaining's
Bargaining's
predictable.
different.
It's predictable.
Yeah,
You know
the
when it's
24
coming.
hours is for when you have to represent someone, or when you have a
Okay.
hearing or something, and that's why we put that in there, but the bargaining.
And I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, it's just something I've noticed. So anyway, I don't think we have any revisions needed to add. And I'm just trying to get through this, because we have stuff to get through in an hour, so, or a half hour, or whatever. So that's, yeah, if the county wants to facilitate the document, I think that's a good idea, because the county is the one that's engaging in the actual deductions, and so the form would be something like you described, a blank, and then, a blank for how many hours they want to put in there, and then we'll just say 1 hour increments. So it's gonna be no less than 1 hour.
Do you have a maximum? I mean, if I put like 1
No,
through 5.
because if someone is, of the mindset that they want to help the union, and they want to donate 5 hours, then.
Yeah, like me,
Well,
when
that's what I'm saying, I
when I
wouldn't-
was retiring, I could have donated 20 hours.
Well, that's what I don't want to happen, exactly.
Why?
Because
That's
it's
why I
so.
wish Doug didn't open his big mouth.
No, I was already there.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
worry. Doug didn't help you on that,
Well,
I was
regardless-
already there.
Regardless, the time is the time. The guy earned, the gal
Well-
earned the time, and they should have the ability to donate time.
Except that it's a liability that we don't, we understand people lose time, and quite frankly, I would be in favor of what you're doing so long as the time is limited to a certain number, and perhaps 5 is the right number.
Well, a maximum of 5 hours?
Yeah, that's fine. I would go for that, as long as it has its cap. Because that's exactly what I don't want. Every December, we're gonna get a request for, oh, I had 100 hours I can't use, here comes the union. No. So, and don't worry, I was already there.
Okay.
You did, yeah.
So that's where our counter is.
All right, so,
So in 1 hour increments to a maximum of 5.
right. And that's why, and I was thinking I can actually picture a form that you just circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so that way you just, I'd like to
You're a good
donate
form
X
maker.
hours. Yes, and good form.
Okay, next one, probationary employees. We're willing to TA on this with one slight modification, and I don't think it's gonna be an objection. I think it just might be an oversight, and no one really thought of it. And what would be section C, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, starts with the word may. May extend a probationary period, I want to insert 1 time, and then for 60 days. And I think that's probably what you have in mind, but I don't want to have multiple, or anyone thinking there's an opportunity to do multiple extensions. And if it needs to say 1 time per employee, then that's fine too, but I think just 1 time would probably do it. If you're okay with that, we can TA.
Shouldn't be a problem.
For Article 19, contract negotiations. In the second sentence, you have in red, it says without pay, and it's in red, if union leave time is unavailable. I want to strike that out and put in its place at the discretion of the union. So it'll read, up to 6 employees designated by the union shall be granted excused leave and be paid from the union leave account or without pay at the discretion of the union. We may not want to deplete the union leave bank, we may want to pay the employees, and we just want to have that option. And if you can agree with that, we can.
And what if there's 0 in the union leave?
Well, then obviously, there's 0 leave, there's 0 leave. I don't think it needs to be said. How can you be paid from the union leave account if there's nothing in the union leave account? And it's kind of, I don't think that needs to
No,
be
but
said.
see, the second clause, or without pay, you want to control the without pay part, or just the union leave account?
What he's saying is that he wants.
You really
because
want
it
the, at the
says-
discretion of the union after the word leave, the phrase
Yeah,
union
'cause-
leave account.
No.
He's saying,
Union leave-
say there's 10 hours left in the union leave bank, they're saying we might not want to tap into the 10 hours, we might just want to leave the 10 hours there and
Correct.
pay the people directly, so that we don't deplete the leave in one session if we choose just to pay them out of the Teamsters
And
fund.
we're not required to do that, so.
Right,
so
I
yeah,
don't
we-
have a problem with that if you want to.
Well, it still seems to me the at the discretion of the union should follow from the union leave account at the discretion of the union or without pay.
Yeah, that could be.
Right.
No, and be paid from the union leave account.
At the
Okay.
discretion of the union.
No, hear me out, the way I phrased it, and be paid from the union leave account or without pay at the discretion of the union. We're deciding, we're taking with no pay. I mean, I don't know if what you're saying changes the dynamics of anything or not. If you put it from, and be paid from the union leave account at the discretion of the union or without pay, I don't know what the difference is.
I think it's about the same, we'll chat
Okay.
about
I
it,
think
but
it's
I
dramatically-
get where you're at, and I don't theoretically have any problem with that.
Article 20, we can, which is a grievance and arbitration procedure, with those changes that you have highlighted in yellow, we can TA that. Rock and roll, right?
Now we just came to a halt.
Yeah, about Article 21. Obviously, I've heard your position loud and clear over and over and over again. It's borderline sickens me, but, you know, in the spirit of getting an agreement, we're just going to just leave the language as it is and status quo.
Which this reflects? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
That by
that,
status quo, do you mean the language we
So we're
showed?
going to leave the language alone as a status quo. So.
Because you got an
but the
issue about
language
whether we
alone.
properly showed a change here, and I don't know what I thought.
no, he's saying that, so this is the way that it is, and he was suggesting earlier that it's possible
I
that
asked
G should be
questions.
part of that, but,
I asked questions of what you thought it was.
Right.
So the union's counter proposal was just leave the language alone, no change. We're not getting what we wanted, we're conceding, we're moving on.
Well, because you raised the issue with respect to F and G, I need to know what you think that means. I don't
Doesn't mean
wanna,
anything but my government.
I don't wanna agree to maintain the status quo on language that you think is, agreeable.
It doesn't make a difference what I believe. The
No,
language
of
is
course
what
it
it
does.
is.
No, it's very important what you think it is. You know, our intent of making sure that we clean up language in the contract as time progresses is to make sure that we diminish the chance for agreements, not leave one in place.
It hasn't really come up to a situation, so I don't know what the county's position would be. All I know is the language is in there.
All right, we'll look at it over the break and see if we agree that the status quo is a foothold for agreements or resolves a potential grievance. It's the latter that we're looking for.
Article 23, safety committees are okay. It's a TA.
okay.
Article 34, we're not willing to accept any changes to the status quo. We want the language to remain the same. It's work, and we want to continue to have it what it is.
That is a big issue for us, I will just tell you that.
Yeah, going backwards is a big issue with us too. Article 39, promotions, and I guess you want to change the name to promotions and vacancies. We're rejecting that article as well.
So you want to leave the existing language in there,
Yeah.
so you want status quo as your proposal back in
Right.
order to give it, okay.
Rejecting county proposal. So Article 46, we're along with TA, which is no change from the current language. Same applies for Article 47, we're along with TA, the existing language. Holidays we need to talk about. In the first paragraph, I heard you say what you said, Barbara, regarding light duty as being, at least I interpreted it to mean that light duty is compensable time, it's not workers' comp paid, it's.
That's correct,
It's a
yeah, if you're on the,
county-
yes, that's
county
correct.
thing. Okay, so even though that's your position, and I agree with it, it doesn't say that, and I thought it might be useful too, in that first paragraph at the end where it says, of absences without pay, those on suspension, those receiving workers' compensation pay, I'd like to put in parentheses excluding light duty. And then go on with a comma, or those receiving disability pay. So if someone's working light duty,
That's not workers' compensation pay, but,
but it is a workers' compensation related event, and I don't want to have any misunderstanding that they're still entitled to holiday pay if they're working light duty.
all right, I may be able to add, I won't say excluding light duty, because it's possible that that could overlap, but I might be able to say something about directly from the TPA or something like that. I understand what you're saying, so I hear you, let me think about that.
And in the bottom full paragraph, it says, if an employee's regularly scheduled day off falls on a designated holiday, the holiday will be scheduled by the supervisor for the employee within 30 days. Explain to me what that means, because it sounds to me like there's something missing in that sentence. And I'll ask you this question. 4th of July falls on a Friday, and the guy's scheduled to work Monday through Thursday.
Right.
What happens?
So he should, well, according to this, he would have like the Friday be or the Thursday be the holiday, or something, like he would still get the day off, but it would be a different day. So if an employee's regularly scheduled day off falls on, so say he's, employee's regularly scheduled day off falls on the designated holiday, so it's a Monday holiday, and the
Well,
guy
this is my
works
example.
Tuesday
Friday's
through
the 4th of
Friday.
July.
Okay, Friday's the 4th of July,
So
and he
you work
works
Monday, Tuesday,
Monday,
Wednesday, Thursday. What
Thursday,
happens?
so we would give him Thursday off.
You get Thursday off?
Yeah, or we'll schedule the holiday within the next 30 days. So
Okay.
he would get a holiday, because it's not fair that he not get the holiday.
Would you agree that that sentence doesn't really capture that? I mean, I just want to just be able to spell that out, because I'm in this business and I didn't even understand what that sentence
All right, so
meant.
circle right after the comma, the two words, the holiday, right?
Mhm.
Circle that just for a second. If we substituted an alternative day off for the holiday, is that what you're?
Yeah, something along those lines. Something that spells out what the process is. So if an employee's regularly scheduled day falls on a designated holiday, the
An
employee will
alternative
be.
day off will be scheduled by the supervisor?
Yeah, an alternative, you know, and that applies to everybody, right? Apparently, because it's in the contract, so everybody who's, the only way it could occur is if you're on 410s, I would imagine. Unless,
That's
well,
correct.
bus drivers do work
We work tens.
weekends, so it could apply to them, but it may not be a 410 shift.
Right.
All right, so yeah, if you can just insert that in there, it'll make a little bit more sense, and then you're gonna make an adjustment in that first paragraph to make a reference to people who are on light duty do receive holidays.
Yeah, it's something like, I see what you're saying, it's those receiving workers' comp pay directly from the carrier, it's not, workers' comp pay is not the same as, you know, it's that 66 and 2/3 that comes from the carrier that you're talking about.
Is there anybody on light duty that receives direct carrier pay?
Could happen,
It could?
yeah, because if you could only return to work 20 hours, and then you say the carrier was supplementing your, you know, with the workers' comp pay, that could be a scenario where you could feasibly be having both. And it would, and in particular, so with that particular situation, I guess how it would work is you would just get the holiday pay because you're having some, you know, some part of your
It's
pay is
wages.
coming,
Part
right,
of it's
exactly,
wages,
yeah.
so-
You're on payroll, you're on active payroll. So I just have to think about that, I have to just run through the scenarios. I'm sure it's not a problem, but we're on the same page, we're not talking about two different things.
All right, and, so yeah, with those two changes, then, we can agree to holidays. Now, the wages and salaries, Article 53, our counter proposal is, selecting option 1, but with a bonus. We feel that these, employees are are entitled to a bonus.
What kind of a bonus?
Well, we were thinking about a flat rate bonus to the tune of about $1,000, and then we figured they're not getting any kind of retro pay, because you guys said you're not offering retro pay, so we factored in a $200 flat rate, the stipend, if you want to call it that. So the bonus in total would be $1,200. So we'll agree to a 3% base wage increase plus a $1,200 bonus. And then, in the performance-based pay, it was brought up by the committee that there's no time requirement, and we'd like to insert one, meaning that the county is going to have to give the union some advance notice. So if you read that yellow highlighted section, if during the term of this agreement the county establishes a county-wide performance-based pay program to recognize and reward job performance, that's a comma, right? The county will give the union, and I'd like to insert a minimum of 30 days advance notice of the performance-based program, to give us some time to meet and to bargain over the pay.
And then how long do you get before we can presume that there's a waiver on the bargain?
Well, I guess at the, as long as this bargaining is continuing.
No, I mean, we give you the notice, the clock begins to run the day you get the notice. Can we presume after 20 days that you have waived?
I don't know, I mean, you didn't put a time limit.
No, but there wasn't a time limit for us to give you notice either. So now that we're talking about
Improving the language.
time, I think it makes sense, tell us how long you need, 20 days?
I don't know, how long can you, how can you put a time limit on bargaining? Because
You could agree that after.
I know we could, but I mean, is it a rightful thing to do, a righteous thing to do? Because how long we've been bargaining to get our first contract, and what happens when we don't meet the deadline? Suppose you give us 30 days advance notice, and you say, well, union, I'm so tied up, I'll meet you on day 29.
I'm not talking about concluding it, I'm saying that
Oh, okay.
within 20 days,
Oh, I
you
thought
will
about
decide
concluding,
whether you
okay.
want to waive and the bargaining unit members participate, or you want to bargain. Just, that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying that you have to conclude bargaining within a certain time period.
Okay, so I thought-
Just
that's what I thought.
elect to either bargain or waive within 20 days. If you
Oh.
give it, if it's 20 days, that way, here's the way I'm thinking of the timeline, okay? We'll give you notice that says 30 days from now, we're going to implement this pay for performance program. If you tell us within 20 days you want to bargain it, we know your members are not gonna participate. But if you tell us within 20 days you're gonna waive bargaining, then we can put your members in the pool.
Right.
So on the
In other words,
30th day, they're participating.
And again, we very well may be completely on board with the whole plan and not want to bargain anything. So in that particular case, if the 30 days advance notice is going to have to include what the plan is, right?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. The letter will say, here is the pay for performance plan we will be implementing,
Yeah, well, I don't have a
March
problem with the
30th.
response time to choose whether we're going to waive or bargain. I thought your proposal obviously was, conclusion deadline, and so, yeah, that's fine. Out of that 30 days, within 20, we gotta make a decision. And then this transportation surcharge is rejecting that component of your proposal. It's not think that's necessary.
Well,
Well, then we have
do?
to talk about the program.
Yeah, because we know our fuel program is kind of problematic, so are we okay with terminating the program while fuel
Absolutely not.
prices are?
Absolutely not.
Are you okay with
Yeah,
suspending?
you brought up the other day that, the main reason for terminating, wanting to terminate was a lack of participation. And I made a few phone calls, and there seems to be a difference of opinion on that. But I think it's worth getting together and talking about it and finding out if there is one of the two things going on, as you alleged, where nobody's, or barely anybody's participating in it, and then furthermore, people are falsifying documents to put their names on it to justify a need for it, that's something we need to work out, and that's something I don't condone and support. But, I don't wanna deal with that right now. You know, that's probably an issues meeting or a grievance meeting or whatever going forward.
Well, it's an issue for us, obviously, so we want to resolve it, and obviously, while the contract is open, we'd like to get it resolved during the contract, because, I mean, the reality is, right now, the fuel prices are so low that we feel this is a good time to suspend it, and I don't have a problem with tying it to fuel prices, because I think there's a legitimate, you know, there was a legitimate need for it when fuel prices were, you know, over $4, but now they're, you know, like $1.60 something, I mean,
Well, the thing is, that thing has been around a lot longer than fuel was $4. I know so, because it's only been, fuel hasn't been $4 for a few years, and this was in effect before the contract was even ratified, if I remember correctly. So I know it was climbing, and I know.
Yeah, it was very high when it went, I mean, the purpose of the program was because of the fuel price. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna dispute that. I think it says it right in the start of or the document that Diana put out. So,
Barbara,
yeah.
who runs the transportation shuttle?
That's what I'm saying, it's like an employee over at Public Works, and it's becoming an issue. Diana's expressing that it's an issue, so.
Why is it such an issue? If anything, the fuel prices being down low, you'd think it would be less of a burden on the county.
No, it's not that, it's the timing of the person. There's a person that has to provide transportation to those people. She wants to reallocate, realign that person to go report someplace else and do something. Right now, he's spending a portion of his day transporting people, and that's not, I mean, it's not an efficient use of his time, and she's so busy out there that, you know, every person matters.
How come these people that need this shuttle can't use one from transportation and one of our relief drivers that does pickups at door to door from here to Wesley Chapel or whatever?
I don't know, if there's a solution, I mean, we're willing to look at any solution, it's just that right now, it's impacting public work, so, yeah, I mean, if there's but that's the other thing, you've got public transportation, I mean,
Well,
they ride the
that's what I'm
bus,
saying, I mean,
you know, so why can't they ride the bus?
we have para-drivers that need to go pick up people for medical appointments and they deadhead to get there. How come these people couldn't take a ride on one of ours
Well, but
that's
you
going
bring
that
a really good
direction
point.
already or something?
Well, that's what I mean, they're being made to report at a certain location and be picked up, and they're making these stops, and, I mean, she's really getting frustrated, so I'm asking the rest of you out there.
The issue is that it's whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense is less, I guess, less important than whether we have a contract provision that protects that practice and we believe that we do. So whether, you know, we sit down and tweak things and say that it doesn't make sense for the following reasons, and like ridership or participation level is dropped to almost nil, and a guy's spending an hour driving around picking up one person. I get that, you know, I'm just hearing that that's not the case. So we're gonna have to take a good hard look at it. You're probably hearing from the person who wants to do away with it.
Yes,
And I'm hearing
absolutely.
from the people who use it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the person who wants to do away with it is probably gonna paint a picture that, you know, justifies the reason for wanting to do away with it, you know, so let's, in my
Well, we can look
opinion.
into it a little more, and then let's
Yeah, but
let's
in
do
the
it
meantime,
quickly,
we don't
because
wanna-
obviously.
we're not agreeing to a transportation surcharge. That's just something we're not, I don't know why that would be under our wages and salary. We're just not charging, we're not interested in charging our members.
Well, it's in wages and salary because it's a monetary benefit, and the best way to deal with it is through payroll deduction.
Okay, but if it's not a wage, it's not a salary.
I mean, there is a benefit to it, so it's certainly a fringe benefit that they're not being taxed on right now. I mean, it provides all kinds of issues like that, that's the other problem. I mean.
Where would you put it? You know,
I'd put it nowhere because it doesn't belong there.
My
No, so
thing
serious.
We all
is,
agree this is.
well,
we have buses that are going everywhere,
I know.
where they're
that's
going
what's-
probably empty.
So let's,
Right.
you know, this.
she's talking about people jumping on the bus and paying. I mean, and she's.
Well, I'm
saying-
just saying, why would they have to pay if we're sending a vehicle that way anyway? How come they just couldn't get picked up
Well,
while
county
the vehicle's
employees are
going
free
in?
county.
I have heard that county employees can ride for free, and we don't know if that's true or not, but somebody said that at
Bus
the
drivers do,
onboarding
right?
meeting. Well, I don't
So the fare
know.
box is broken everywhere.
Right.
The problem with that is if they're in uniform,
Which they would be.
and we know that they are, but we have a lot of employees that don't have uniforms, and then we don't have a way to know that.
Well, they should have an ID badge, I mean, you know, so I don't know what the answer is, like, that seems
It's a
like.
bad practice, because
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
it puts an individual in the position of being the gatekeeper, and then that individual is subject to scrutiny for charging or not charging individuals that are not in uniform.
We could have the.
I don't think we should have individuals put in that position.
Public Works doesn't wear names on their shirts.
If they have their county ID and they can prove they work for the county, we usually let them ride. Now, we have other transit companies that are bus drivers that, in other areas of the country, if you're a transit bus driver, you can ride on that system without paying. We don't allow it. Pinellas will take our drivers if they're on a bus down there for free. It's just something we don't do, which it's, I don't think that's really a good thing, because it.
We have to decide on a ride-by-ride basis. Look, in a way, I work for the county, so
Yeah.
I have two questions. If I get onto your bus, one, are you gonna charge me? All right, that's
Charge them double.
question one.
Triple.
The second question is,
I was like,
where are
yes.
you gonna drop me off?
Yeah. We know a nice landfill out in Hudson.
Just going off road into the woods to get concerned.
That's how, I'll pay if I go where I'm going, but for a free ride, I could end up.
Well, I asked you for, if you have a reduced fare ID, how's that?
Jim, what is the policy when someone comes on your bus and they refuse to pay and they sit down? Don't you give them a free ride anyway? I thought so.
No, we call the sheriff.
Call sheriff, okay. 'Cause I
We
heard
give them
from
an
that
option,
whole
they can
grievance
get
issue
off,
that-
or the sheriff's gonna come and give them a trespass.
Well, and I think it does depend, correct me if I'm wrong, but it also depends if they're a frequent flyer, and like, if you know they pay every single time, but they say, hey, today I don't have money, is that because that's not what I, really? Okay, well, that's why.
If you know, although,
My fare card.
a lot of our buses, our fare boxes are awarded driveway, they ride for free forever, but I mean, and then when they do work, and they walk right by it, you tell them, wait a minute, you gotta pay them. Oh, really?
Let's put this
Yeah.
back, let's put this back into
Yes,
context, you know.
no,
When we first started bargaining, what we wanted to do is, the county wanted to do is, we wanted to identify everything that was a monetary past practice. And we wanted to make sure that we had language in the collective bargaining agreement to do it. And I think we realized through that discussion that we might not be able to identify every monetary past practice. And guess what? Here's one that we did not identify in the first round of contract negotiations. But now that we know that it's a monetary past practice, as your position, right? We can't change it unilaterally.
I don't call it,
Can we discontinue the service, the transportation shuttle?
it's just the fact, I'm hung up on whether you're characterizing it as a monetary past practice as opposed to just a past practice, because anything, I guess, can be morphed into having an expense, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a monetary past practice.
This one clearly
This
has.
clearly is, because
money
otherwise why
related
would
to
we
it.
be doing it, right?
There's no question about that. So, you know,
It's
look,
your opinion, all right.
our position would be is that the shuttle system is something we think we should control whether to do it or not to do it, when to do it, so forth and so on. You don't agree with that. You think we have to bargain for it.
I think you need to adhere to the contract. We have an agreement.
Well, there's nothing in the contract.
Then that's silent.
Yeah, it's just past practice language.
Okay, so that means you think we need to bargain with you to modify it. If we suspended
You
it
have to
today,
preserve it.
if we suspended it today and said sent out a notice that said it's canceled, you're gonna send us a letter that says you can't do that without bargaining over the impact of it, right?
It's grieving. I guess if you want to consider grieving, filing a grievance and processing a grievance a form of bargaining, then I guess, yeah. But it's not necessarily always referred to as bargaining when you're enforcing the contract. You know, we typically take the position, we're not interested in bargaining. We've already bargained. We have the language, now we're enforcing, we're filing a grievance to enforce it. You may interpret that as bargaining, and I don't.
John, I'm giving a nod to the position that when we modify things that impact the bargaining unit members, their pocket, that we would tell you we're gonna do it, and if you want to, we would bargain it, okay?
If there
So,
wasn't a contract.
I don't know why you'd wanna argue about us acknowledging that we would do that, in the spirit of good labor management relations. So, I'm just trying to identify where we are. We would like to charge people who participate in the program, because it helps us recoup the cost of doing it. Your position is you don't wanna pay. My next question is, if you don't wanna pay, are you okay with us unilaterally deciding when to run the program or not?
And I thought I already answered that 20 minutes ago. No, I'm not interested in that. And so if we want to sit down and at another time and talk about doing something with the shuttle program, that seems to make sense, and I'm a reasonable guy, charging $30 for someone to use something that they've been using for free, it doesn't make sense.
Well, now's the time to talk about it.
Right.
It's not in the future, it's now.
$30 a week, well, mine.
I will volunteer my time to drive the bus if you let me wear my union shirt.
It's interesting that they're holding accountable for not getting to work that time. You willing to do it every day?
She just love the disappointment.
She can't, I'm retired. I will volunteer to drive your bus.
Look, the $30 is a number we came up with, so we thought, that's probably, you know, the tank of gas that, you know, was saved
Depends on
by
what
the
you drive, I mean,
employee. So
you know.
it ends up being a neutral for the employee from our point of view, is you're either gonna spend the money on gas or they're gonna spend it on
I
paying for the
understand.
transportation.
Listen, the way bargaining works, both parties put forth proposals and both parties respond to them. I hear your proposal, I understand your proposal, it's not confusing. The proposal's been rejected, just like a lot of proposals we put to the county that got rejected, okay? I don't know what there's more to talk about. Unless you want to talk about seniority, we'll talk about that for another couple of weeks. You've rejected our proposal again and again and again and again. And we, in a spirit of cooperation, agreed to basically leave the language the way it is. And so, we're trying to get a deal done, we're trying to be cooperable, and it just seems like, you know, I wonder if that's the case on your side sometimes.
Well, all right, so I'm just putting it in the monetary context because it is in wages, so going back to your counter proposal that you want, whatever we're gonna call it, $1,200 from each, for each employee, that's an additional $1,500 benefit for people that are riding the shuttle, right? Because it's
If you
It's
can
$30
prove
a
to me
week,
that it costs
50 weeks a
$30 a
year.
week, because that's a very vague number. And I don't necessarily agree with someone who's putting $30 a week in their tank. They may or may not.
Well,
depending on
Barbara
what they
said
drive.
she would link it to language that it fluctuates on gas price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a number you picked out of the air. I mean, I don't.
I told you how we got to it. It's a tank of gas a week.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah,
Jim, Jim,
comes out to a profit for the county. If you've got all those people riding, if there's 10 people riding, and it's 30 each, that's 300 a week. That, you tell me it costs 300 a week to run that shuttle?
There's two
How many
two
people?
points of view on it, okay? You know, that's one consideration, but the other is that it's an added monetary benefit for the employees that use it, which is, based upon our number, it's worth $1,500 a year. So the people that use the shuttle are getting $1,500 more a year than all other employees in the bargaining unit, right?
That's your position, and that's not one that we agree with. We don't agree with your assessment that someone would spend $30 a week, 52 weeks a year for the same, for what they're getting from that shuttle. I don't know. I don't know what kind of car they drive. I don't know what kind of fuel consumption they have. I don't know what the price of fuel is. I don't know if they use the shuttle every day, or once a day, or once a week, or once a month.
You're right, John, it could be 30, it could be 40, it could be 20.
It could be 5. We don't know. You're right.
Yeah, they could have an electric car, right?
And then, you know, Tom brings up another point, it's just like, now you're getting into the shuttling business, now you wanna start profiting, you want a windfall, you want to start deducting wages.
It's not a windfall.
It's not a windfall, it's
a-
an
would be.
expense,
It's
an expense
for us.
offset.
Yeah,
Well,
it's costing
If you're
money.
spending, like Tom Ross,
The
you're spending $300 a
commissioners-
week on this?
wanted 57 cents a mile to use their car, the paper about a month ago, right? When they could take one out of the motor pool and cost them nothing.
Well, they have one right now in the most part.
Yeah,
All
well, I
right.
mean, they want the
We know,
taxpayers to pay them
okay, we get where we
57
are on this.
cents.
Okay.
On wages,
Wow.
did we come up with any, on the confined space? Or are you rejecting that totally?
We see no link between any claims regarding injury over the course of confined spaces being occupied by employees. And we look back, we asked somebody to look back through records, they did, they said, there's no incident ever arising out of that activity.
Well, then I will ask Barbara, here are the two job descriptions. Nowhere does it say you have to do confined space, and how can our guys refuse?
I don't understand the safety component of it, but that's even relevant. I mean,
Related work as required.
That's on every application there is.
Yes, you're right.
But it's not required in the job description to do it. You're gonna tell me if I'm a guy that cuts grass, go ahead and jump on that tractor trailer and go pick us up a load of dirt, as required,
Yeah, it's, if it's.
and I
related
don't
to
have the
your-
license.
If it's related to your job.
Okay.
And you have the license, and in the confined space training, we certify the people who would be required to, enter the confined space.
I don't understand, I mean, a lousy $24 and you're putting these guys' lives at risk, it's unbelievable.
is the confined space training mandatory?
I'd have to check with the department, I don't know, actually, Frank could answer that better than I can, he knows.
Because usually that's where it comes into play, where something is mandatory, then, you expect to be compensated for it. But anyway, how soon can you get back to us? Because like I said, we want to get this deal done.
Give us just a 5 or 10 minute break, we'll step out inside here and come back in and tell you how long.
Yeah, me too, I gotta get a candy bar.
Yeah.
Jim, you wanna take us while I'm out?
I'm on the wagon on Snickers.